We were up to episode 23. Luckily for me, the previews at the beginning are 3 minutes long that cover the whole previous episode. So while we're normally skipping them, I'm going to watch this one because, yeah. Seriously, Attack on Titan, what the fuck? Overlord's intro is 10 seconds of the main thing that happened in the last video. Attack on Titan is like, what, 3 minutes? Out of a, 16-minute episode. We did the math. You get 16 minutes an episode of Attack on Titan. What the fuck? Seriously, I feel ripped off. I legitimately feel ripped off by this anime. I feel ripped off. 16 minutes an episode. Alright, let's just jump into it. Alright, let's do this. No spoilers. If you spoil, I feed you to my dog. Let's do this. I'm growing that glorious mustache. You guys are going to be happy to hear this, but I've actually found... Fuck! Of course I did that. Of course I did that. I'm going to ruin this thing. Blue camo pants. Blue camo pants. White top. All I'm missing is black boots, which I've got. An eye patch. A glorious mustache. And a court sword. And I can do a King Bradley cosplay. I'm just missing the glorious mustache. And thankfully, since it's lockdown, I can grow it. We grew it as a skit for ReZero, but look at it. It's 3 weeks old tomorrow. Look at it. It's growing. It's getting its form. Give it another 3 weeks, this will be a mustache. In 3 weeks, this will be a mustache. Alright, Attack on Titan. What's this? Smile. I am scared. I am scared. Smiling in this anime is never a good thing. Okay. Japanese. Let me just double check. You're supposed to kick with your shin, but anyway. Alright, you're supposed to be kicking with this part. This is, you aim with this. You don't kick with this. That's bad. That's very bad. That's how you break shit. You kick with your shin. Actually, that's incorrect. What you're supposed to do is teach yourself how to catch your breath within 5-10 seconds through deep breathing. And that way you get all your oxygen back in about 10 seconds. That's what you should be learning. Not constantly going with no break. No, you should be going hard for 3.5 minutes, giving yourself 10 seconds to catch your breath, and then going again. Because then you learn how to control your breathing. And once you learn how to control your breathing, you're deadly because you're not going to run out of breath while fighting. While the guy's going, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've just caught your breath back and he fucked. And while we're going on it, I know that was probably a beginner doing kicks, but when you're doing lower kicks, you shouldn't be lifting your leg up. You should actually start the kick the same way as you would a head kick, middle kick, or low kick. You start high and then you target up, middle, or down. That way, the person that's looking at you or fighting you can't tell if you're going for a lower kick, middle kick, or a high kick, and you can change it last second. So if you see him going like this, you can go to the body or the bottom. If you see him lift up his knee to check it, you can go for the head. The same way, if your kick is going downwards, you're generating more force than you are going down up. You're not fighting gravity, you're using gravity. And another advantage is simple mechanics. You're hitting downwards as opposed to upwards. You're not going to accidentally slide upwards. You're going to slide downwards. So imagine look at your thighs for a second. Hit this angle downwards versus upwards. Upwards, you're hitting a lot more of those muscles. Downwards, you're hitting that soft fat, which hurts like a bitch. And if you can cork it, you can take out the guy's leg in one hit. It's deadly as fuck. I love it. It's a favorite of mine. Just cork them. And it's also hard for them to actually check it if you're kicking downward. If you're kicking upward, it's really easy for them to check it with the knee. But if you're kicking downwards, you can actually hit their knee and break it if they don't check high enough. And if they check too high, like a Muay Thai fighter, lift up that leg, fuck it, just sweep them. And they're on the floor. So, yeah, you should always train how you fight. A lot of people are like, I'm going for a low kick. I'm going to start low. No. Always start high. Always lift high. Lift high, then you can kick to the head, body down. Never start low. Fuck that shit. I love that the religious fanatics are the ones with gold. Couldn't they just send those people in on the front lines? Since you love the wall so much, why don't you worship the outer wall? Why are you escaping to the inner wall? Stay out there, get eaten, problem solved. This girl already creeps me out. She looks like she's about to, do some creepy shit. The last time a girl looked like that at us, it was Overlord Season 1, and she did some questionable things to the nice people. This little girl is beginning to give me sociopathic vibes. All right. This is something you learn when you work in corporate. In meetings, keep your mouth shut. If you keep your mouth shut, you can get out of the meeting without being assigned any work. The nail that sticks out gets hammered. You're a bureaucrat. Start acting like it. Lazy shit. Well, I get paid just enough to stop me from quitting, so I do just enough work to stop me from getting fired. I may be lazy, but I'm not stupid. Welcome to bureaucracy. Say bureaucrats. There is a pyramid structure in every organization. At the top, you have the CEO and managing directors. Below that, you have the vice presidents. Below that, you have directors. Below that, you have team leads and supervisors. And below that, you have the hardworking employees that do 99% of the work and have virtually no chance of ever becoming CEO or managing director. Welcome to the bureaucracy. It exists within every company. Says the guy that didn't join the Scout Corps. You know what's sad about that? He comes in with the best of intentions, as do a lot of people when it comes to politics, the military, police force, whatever the organization is. And their spirits get eventually broken. They realize really quickly they can do the work, they can put in all the effort. In the end, the people that get ahead are going to be the people that are collaborating with the other conspirators. And the other conspirators are all lazy and they're all watching their backs. They're never going to promote someone that's doing something good. If they do that, they look like shit. So they'll do whatever they can to keep the person at the bottom. And so when it comes time for a promotion, you're going to think that the hardest work is going to be one to get promoted. He's not. Because the organization, no matter what it is going to want to keep him in that position because he's fulfilling that job so well. He's never going to get promoted to the next stage because they can always get a good supervisor or a manager, but they can't get a good worker. So they're going to keep him the worker bee forever. So you're actually decentivized to work hard. You're incentivized to work well, but just a little more than the average person to stand out, but not so much to be kept there. You want to be identified as an officer or a supervisor, but you don't want to be identified as a working bee. Because if they see you as a working bee, they'll keep you there all your life. You'll never get out. But if you're just a little bit better than everyone, you're good enough to supervise the other ones, but not good enough to keep there forever. That's what you want to do. That's how you actually get ahead in corporate, military, police, politics, all that shit. Yeah, one of my former jobs was exactly like that. They promoted who they wanted. Yeah. People hire and promote people they like, which is why as soon as we get a new manager or a new, vice president or managing director, the first thing I do is get to know them very fucking quickly. I get to know them very quickly. What do they like? What sports team do they follow? What's their coffee order? Do they have any pets? Are they married? Do they have kids? Are the kids in university? What do they drive? Do they like cars? Do they play golf? That interpersonal shit. Because it makes it very easy to click with them in passing. Oh, hey, how's it going? Did you catch the game? Or, oh, on your way to get another cappuccino. How many people in an organization do you see saying that to a managing director or vice president? Virtually no one. Meanwhile, I catch a vice president or managing director in an elevator and have a quick 20-30 second conversation with them about a game that I didn't even watch. And the next time there's a position coming up that I want, I don't go apply to it through former channels. I go to the vice president, who is the boss of the person selecting the people to hire, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking for a new job. I noticed this one. Do you have any recommendations for how to apply? And he's going to be like, yeah, I'll put a word in for you. So I've just bypassed the entire interview process, the entire like paperwork and bullshit. And then the guy that wouldn't take me into his team because he found someone better is forced to give me a job 2 tiers above the position he didn't want to take me in because the vice president said so. So I just go over their head. It's like, oh, you didn't want me? You can go fuck yourself. I'm going to skip you. That's how you get around it. It's not what you know, it's who you know. You gotta be good with people. You gotta be good with people. And people like people that like them. It's as simple as that. If they like soccer or football, you fucking like soccer and football. If they like cappuccinos and lattes, you fucking like cappuccinos and lattes. If they like, Japanese whiskey, guess what? You also like Japanese whiskey. You don't need to like it. You just need to know enough about it to have a 20-second conversation about it. That's it. That's all you need. Like, I don't even watch football, but I have to know, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United. There's also Manchester City. So every time I see someone with a Manchester United, like scarf or something, I'm like, oh, is that Manchester City? And they fucking remember. They're like, oh, you little shit. You gotta stand out. You gotta stand out. People don't remember good. They remember different. You gotta be different. You don't want to be in the crowd. Fuck the crowd. Crowd is just filled with sheep. Don't be a sheep. Stand out. Hey, you're kind of knowledgeable. I know jack shit about the clubs. I just know the name and the color. That's it. I know nothing. Like, if you gave me a name of soccer players, I wouldn't know which club they're in. I know nothing about football. Nothing. But I know the names of the teams. So if I see someone wearing a jersey, I can have a quick 15-second conversation about it. And they think I'm interested. But really, I'm fucking not. I know absolutely nothing about it. That's all you gotta do. There we go. I just clipped that. I stopped the recording. I restarted. I'm going to edit that out as a 2-minute tip. And guess what? People are going to see it. They're going to love it. And I'm going to get fired from my job. I'm going to upload that after I quit. Also, some people screw their bosses to get on top. Well, the vice president of America got her job by screwing her direct reporting manager. Her literal nickname was Heels Up Harris. She was known for giving blowjobs to all her superiors. Hell, even her superior came out and said the only reason he made her whatever her position was because she blew him off like once a week. She's underqualified as fuck. She was just sucking dick. Great idol. Look it up. Look it up. Oh, they're selling equipment. What is this, the fucking Soviet Union after the wall came down? You're gonna find this fun, but after the Soviet Union started falling down and the wall went down, there was what they called the arms bazaar. It was basically an arms race. Everyone was buying out the old Soviet equipment. And you had places throughout, like Ukraine and Russia and other satellite states like that. They sort of had regiments and they had battalions and things like that. And they could still order Soviet equipment. So they would basically say, oh, we don't have enough equipment for a battalion. We need to order in another, 20,000 AKs or something. Or we're down to like 2 tanks, but they actually had 20 tanks or something like that. And they would order in the Soviet equipment and then they would sell it on the black market. So you literally had Soviet attack helicopters being sold around the world as civilian helicopters. And a way they got around that was they dismantled the armaments on the helicopter and they shipped it to a different address. Because at that time, a military helicopter could be defined as a civilian helicopter by removing the armaments. So they'd remove, like the missile targeting systems and the rockets and the flares on a like Katsaka or something like that. They'd sell it and then they ship the weapons to like somewhere down the street and then they'd put it back together. It was fucked. And that was happening for like a decade. That's why even to this very day, throughout the world, whenever you look at militias, they're all using old Soviet weaponry. Because that's, from when the Soviet Union collapsed. Because the Soviet Union threw everything it had into weapons. I mean, that and Chernobyl and things like that, but they threw everything they had into weapons during the Cold War. And then as soon as the wall fell down, guess what happened? The Russian mafia, a lot of ex-soldiers and Spetsnaz and things like that, started using their military connections to start selling that shit around the world. The Russian mafia, if you were to take a look at them, they outperform Fortune 500 companies with the amount of weapons and drugs and shit that they sell. It is insane. And you look at their structure, it is a formal military structure because you had literal soldiers and commanders and colonels and whatnot coming back from the war that were currently unemployed because, the government fell through. What were they going to do? Start 9-to-5 jobs on the street for $10 an hour after they just spent 20 years of their lives on the front lines? Fuck that shit. They started selling guns and tanks. And then they started spreading like the plague to places like America and other countries in Europe. And then when they encountered, people like the Italian mafia or the Irish mafia or other organized crime, they were like, haha, we got handguns, don't come on our turf. And they're dealing with ex-special forces soldiers with military armament. They're like, fuck you. They would just turn into a restaurant and just spray and pray. They just murder everybody. Fuck collateral damage. The turf wars were literal bloodbaths. They weren't afraid to kill people. I mean, just even today, the Russian mafia is like one of the most brutal criminal organization syndicates in the world. The thing is, they're so well organized that they integrate into everyday society without being noticed. I mean, you see the news about bikies shooting each other and other gangs shooting each other, but you don't hear shit about the Russian mafia, do you? Because they've infiltrated the government, law enforcement, politics, the military, everything. They're supplying a big bolt of the drugs throughout East Asia. And even in Japan, I mean, you've got the Yakuza, but who do you think imports the firearms and the drugs into Japan? It's not the Yakuza. The Yakuza are acting as distributors within Japan. The ones importing it are the Russians. They're the ones making money of the Yakuza. And the Yakuza would never fuck with the Russians because the Yakuza's got, they're a well-organized syndicate within Japan, but the Russian mafia is ex-special forces soldiers with military armaments. I mean, have you ever heard the saying, don't poke the bear? Well, they're literally Russian bears with vodka and assault rifles. You don't fuck with them. And they don't have that system of, honor and all that shit. They will just kill you. They don't do that whole, cut off your finger thing. We'll give you a second chance. They kill each other. Like, if you fuck up, they will gut you. They will string you up and gut you like a fish. They're ruthless. The only ones that even stand up to that ruthlessness are the Mexican cartels. They're fucking bad. Like, those are the two fucking big international players that no one wants to really fuck with. Those two. Everyone in between is more a distributor when you really think about it on the international scale. And that's just because, of the geography and whatnot. Like, the fucking Russian mafia will sell you nuclear-equipped submarines if you have the money. I mean, I don't fucking see the Yakuza running around with tactical nuclear warheads, do you? Let's carry on. Where do you think Pablo Escobar got a submarine from? Where do you think Pablo Escobar got a fucking submarine from? It was the Russian mafia. He was just too cheap to buy a nuke. He should have bought a nuke. He would have been untouchable with a nuke. It was like, oh, fucking arrest me, I'll nuke the country. No one would have touched him. It was just too cheap to buy it. It was like, why do I need a nuke? It's insane. Do you know the amount of nuclear warheads that are unaccounted for in the world right now? Do you know the amount of missing nuclear warheads in the world? There's like several hundred missing nuclear warheads. Missing, unaccounted for. Active nuclear warheads. Some of them might have been dismantled. Some of them might be duds. But there's a few hundred missing nuclear warheads. They might not be as potent as they were 50 years ago, but we know how Half-Life works. They might not be potent, but they could still do a lot of damage. And they're just in circulation. Somewhere. Do you know how many nuclear warheads were brought into South America that have just gone MIA? Do you know how many Soviet military caches they are throughout South America that were just put there in case there's a land war? A lot. There's probably a few of them that are undiscovered, just buried in the middle of nowhere. Like someone will discover this military bunker one day, open it up, and it's just leaking radiation from a nuclear warhead which hasn't been maintained for the last 30 years. It's absolutely terrifying. Some random drug lord out there probably has more armament than a first world country. Some random drug lord has more nuclear weapons than Australia. Just fucking sitting there. Because he can. Like, the inconvenient truth. Organized crime is fucked. Organized crime is actually part of the system. It is part of... I'm going to clip this as a separate thing. It is part of the system. Because every time a country needs to get involved with another country, but they can't be seen to be involved, they hire organizations. Whether it be mercenary groups like Blackwater or organized crime groups. There is a literal PMC, well, there's PMCs on both sides, but I'll give you an example. The US was using Blackwater, and Blackwater was comprised of ex-military personnel from the United States military that became private contractors. The reason they use PMCs is because they don't actually turn up on the logistics for a war. So say, for example, there's casualties in war. Deaths within a PMC don't actually show up as casualties. Also, war crimes committed by PMCs are not locked back to the country that hired them. So say, for example, George Bush and Obama needed to commit some war crimes somewhere to get rid of some terrorists. They hire a BMC and they do the dirty work. It's called wet work. How do they pay them? Well, it's a little government black book. You know all those seized bitcoins from the Silken Road that the FBI seized back in the day? That's one payment system. Another payment system would be seized funds, from criminals and whatnot throughout the US. Russia does the same thing. I think it's called the Wisner Group or something. It's comprised of ex-Russian soldiers. And it's literally a PMC that's equipped with Russian government equipment, like standard top-of-the-line current assault rifles, armor, armored vehicles, like basically military, except it's a PMC. And Russia basically uses them every time they need to engage someone without Russia being involved. So when there were a bunch of, I think it was Marines on the border near Ukraine, Putin just sent in a PMC and they just attacked them. Like outright attacked a US outpost. And the US outpost literally radioed in Russia and is like, dude, we're getting attacked. Is it you, Russia? And Russia's like, nah, it's not us, bro. Meanwhile, it's a PMC made of Russian soldiers attacking. The US had to scramble aircraft to support them with, bombers. Like, it was a literal engagement. But it's not a declaration of war because the PMC is not part of the government. It's not part of the national military. So that particular skirmish is not an act of war. It was like a rebel PMC group doing illegal shit on their own. Go for it. Arrest them. We don't know who the fuck they are. But what happened after the skirmish, all the fucking soldiers went back to Russia and got treated in Russian hospitals. Right? So that's actually part of the system. Because if this was disallowed, if these people were criminals and were treated as such, they wouldn't be able to waltz into a hospital after getting shot at a war zone. But no, they get paid top dollar. So they can do that. They're part of the system. Who do you think was fucking importing the drugs when Pablo Escobar was at his peak? The CIA. They literally imported the cocaine into the US. They let it happen. Why? Because it gave them a fuck ton of money to use internationally. So yeah, your own government imported the drugs. They didn't care. They still don't care. Throughout New York, the Italian mafia is still running rampant and doing racketeering. It's called the concrete tax. You can't pour any concrete in New York without giving the Italian mafia a cut. If you do, you're going to have picket signs from the workers' union, from construction, closing down your entire construction site. Because all those unions are, you guessed it, managed by the Italian mafia. It's built into the system. It's built into the system. And the government doesn't fucking care. Because they get kickbacks. They get donations, political donations from these organizations in order to use to their campaigns to get elected. And we call that democracy. So the guy that actually wants to change the system, like say this idealistic guy, he's never going to be elected because he doesn't have the funds to run a campaign. The other guy can afford 24 hours a day ads on television, radio, Facebook, whatever the fuck. Whereas this guy can't afford jack shit. And even if he breaks out, he's going to be the lone voice within Parliament who are all corrupt. You just have to take a look at what companies are donating to politicians, and you can see exactly why their position on certain issues is the way it is. You can see why certain politicians want to engage in war. Why? Because people supporting them are companies like Lockheed, the ones creating the armaments and the missiles and the planes used in war. So of course, these politicians are going to want to do peacekeeping terrorist shit in Syria. Because every bomb that gets dropped is money in the company's pocket. And that's just a fraction of it. And that's the system top to bottom. It's built into the system. It's no different here. This guy's going to try to stop the government equipment being sold in the black market. How much you want to bet his reporting officers are in on it and getting a kickback? You know what's going to happen to him? He's either going to get told to shut up, or he'll get discharged, or he'll get killed. He'll get killed. Friendly fire or something. Accidental discharge. Guy accidentally shot himself by cleaning his rifle. Or like, my personal favorite, the guy stabbed himself while making a sandwich. And the book he was publishing on the illegal emails that certain people in the government had fucking disappeared. It's built into the system. So when you guys are outraged about these guys selling military equipment to the black market, the politicians are doing the same. And don't get me started on private companies. Companies like Coca-Cola and Nestle taking water away from starving farmers in third world countries, buying 1 million liters of water for $3.50 while farmers can't put water for their crops and starve to death. Do we want to get on that one? Or how about we want to get on the ones during a drought, rice fields are soaking up all the water that are owned by the Chinese government. People have water restrictions not to water their plants, whereas China's using up thousands of liters of water for rice fields. Do we want to talk about that? Of course not, because it's politically inconvenient. Let's go watch the Olympics to our regularly scheduled distraction, ladies and gentlemen. That is another clip, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to edit out as a separate video. Let's continue. We're getting good on this. And if I ever disappear, a little bit like Epstein and McAfee, I am not suicidal and I did not kill myself. But guess what? Whatever happened with that Epstein autopsy? Whatever happened with that? I wonder. Funny how we started talking about that. Or is it funny how they got scrubbed off the servers? Oh, you want benefiting from prison labor? Harris, the vice president of the US, had evidence that several people, and I'm talking dozens of people, were actually innocent. They were in prison for things they did not commit, but she refused to let that evidence be used in court because they were providing prison labor for 10 cents on a dollar. She kept black people in prison because of the labor they were providing when she knew they were innocent. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your vice president. Isn't it beautiful how the system works? The corrupt are being protected by the laws, and the civilians can't do shit about it. And even if the corrupt are arrested, the judges are in on it. The people doing the prosecuting are in on it. The people dishing out the sentence are in on it. The whole system, top to bottom, is corrupt. It's rotten. Revolution when? I don't know. I think when they're done taking all your guns, you won't be able to revolt even if you want to. So just stop asking questions, give the guns away, take the jab, and get on the train. You live in England, you don't have guns, you have knives. Did you see what happened when that one guy had a knife in England and the police didn't do jack shit on the bridge? The police in England are a joke. They'll arrest you for reporting crimes that take place, but they won't arrest the criminals committing the crime. A guy raped a little girl that was walking to school, and the judge ruled that because the laws in his country are different, he's not guilty of anything. Meanwhile, someone that reported it in the newspaper was sentenced to prison for, and I quote, spreading hate. England, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to countries going woke to the max. They are literally protesting the mandatory vaccinations in France, but you don't get to see that on the news, do you? You don't see France literally burning to the ground right now. But hey, keep believing the news, kiddos. I mean, Germany was the same way. No one believed that people were actually getting sent to death camps on those trains either, until it was too late. So yeah, believe what you're told. Don't ask questions. Just get on the train. Oh, do you want to know something cool about the US? They outlawed homelessness in California. If you are homeless in California, you'll be issued a fine. If you can't pay the fine, you get sent to prison. They outlawed homelessness in California. And they also want to implement a leaving tax. If you leave the state, they want to tax you for doing so. Wonderful, isn't it? The reason why they don't want vaccinations is because one of the vaccines that we have here, AstraZeneca, when you take the vaccinations, you sign this thing that basically says if something goes wrong, you can't sue. A person overseas took the vaccination. They're 23. They've had to amputate their legs and their arms due to the blood clots it caused. It was issued that AstraZeneca is unsafe, and then the government here had a talk with the people doing the writing, and they said, oh, now it's suddenly safe. So it was ruled to be unsafe for distribution. The government had a word with them after they spent $2 billion on the vaccination, and now it's suddenly safe to use. But sign this that basically says if something happens, you can't sue us. That's why people have a problem with it. Meanwhile, all the politicians that are getting jabs of a different vaccine. Not the one that they're saying is safe. If it's so safe, why aren't they using it? Just saying. So when the sudden homelessness drops and they give themselves a pat on the back, reopening businesses that you closed is like congratulating bank robbers for releasing the hostages. Let's continue. I wonder if these people that they just identified in this episode will join the Survey Corps. I mean, Scout Corps, same thing. My God, her nose. I just keep noticing her nose in every scene. She's got a big nose. He's seen some shit. All right, what is this? Military Police Brigade Part 1. They number at around 2,000, but if you want to include the garrison soldiers under their command, their forces can be considered to be 5,000 strong. Military Police Brigade Part 2. Each wall town has around 200 military police deployed there. Their primary duties consist of supervising the training corps, monitoring the garrison, and directing free fighting operations. Hmm. What's with the ring? Clever. Hmm. Frail. She doesn't strike me as frail. Ooh. Something's up. Oh. Oh. They're suspecting her of being the traitor. Oh. Well, if she is what you think she is, what makes you think she's gonna go willingly? This guy has the worst bluff in the world. Well, shit. There goes the smile of the title. Ah, crap, she's gonna want to speak to the manager. Wait! Wait. How did the fat guy go first? What the fuck? Look at him. He's fat. How is he the fastest person? You know you're fucked when this guy's the fastest guy. That explains the ring! Well, that explains the ring. Ah, the cuckery! Oh, how did I know? All right, 16 minutes an episode. No, that is clever. That is fucking clever. That is clever, just in case. 100%. That is definitely on point. 100%. I pay that. That's using your brain. I will always reward using your brain. It's simple yet effective. No one will suspect that the ring is what you use. It's clever as shit. I was kind of like WTFing for a minute, thinking that, oh yeah, she's probably gonna join the Survey Corps because they're down a few people. And then it's like, come down here. And I'm like, what? And then he's like, come down here, you bitch! You need to help me! And it's like, yeah, that's clearly a trap. You should definitely not quit your day job. Now the mid-walls have a chance to experience the Titan close up. You see, the main benefit is that now the corrupt guys have a chance to regret selling military equipment because they can see how equipped they are to handle the situation because they sold their fucking armaments! Alright, quick 3-minute break in next episode. Those cunts.
Hey, did I hand you a shrinking potion by accident? I could have sworn that was the gender swapping one.
Don't be hating. She's fun sized, that's all. She doesn't even have to get on her knees to blow.
You want to add anything to that conversation?
Nope, I'm good. In fact, I think your new size makes you an even more formidable and stealthy ninja.